how far will Canon go with artificial intelligence in the Canon EOS R5 Mark II, the EOS R1, and other upcoming Canon cameras? And what will be the depth and breadth of these capabilities? Well, according to Canon rumors, Canon's considering adding an AI subscription model to future Canon cameras. Does this mean we'll get some sort of HAL-like service?
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Or perhaps the evil AI, Control from Star Trek Discovery. No, those are attention-grabbing headlines that are designed to get you to read their stories, to watch their television shows or their movies. What this new AI model in these cameras that we're expecting to see is going to, well, get them to think just a little bit more like you. Now imagine that the camera's smart enough to keep trained on you, on your subject, not switching to somebody else, regardless of whether your subject moves temporarily out of the frame or is obstructed by some other object. And Canon's already thought of this. They've already done the work. In Canon patent filing JP 2024-161440, Canon is able to track a subject, even if that subject moves temporarily out of the frame or is temporarily hidden by another subject or object. And this patent is designed for broadcast television for sports coverage. Imagine watching the latest basketball or NBA game and you're locked onto a given subject. That person is running and getting ready to put the ball in the net. And what happens? Well, it breaks contact with that subject and locks onto somebody else who's trying to block. It doesn't give you the shot you're looking for. And that's where this new AI or deep learning machine intelligence kicks in. But it's not the only patent filing. Canon patent filing JP 2023-154970, filed 1 year earlier, uses the same technology for stills hybrid cameras. But these are just a couple of Canon patent applications that we've seen dealing with autofocus improvements over the past 6 months. In fact, we've actually discovered over 12 patent applications that will improve autofocus alone in the upcoming cameras such as the Canon EOS R5 Mark II and the Canon EOS R1. But we've also seen a lot of patent applications that use machine learning to remove blur from images, like Canon patent application JP 2024-034309 and JP 2023-167107. And then there's Canon patent application JP 2024-011915. It uses machine learning to improve exposure control. But before we go deeper into the rabbit hole, let's do a bit of a clarification of terminology. You've probably heard the term AI or artificial intelligence, deep learning, machine learning, and regenerative AI. But what do these terms mean? They're similar and they're all related to each other. Well, machine learning is one of the main branches of artificial intelligence, the use and development of computer systems that are able to learn and adapt without following explicit instructions, by using algorithms and statistical models to analyze and draw inferences from patterns in data. The other main branches of artificial intelligence includes robotics, expert systems, fuzzy logic, natural language processing like ChatGPT, and neural networks. And now that brings us to horsepower, because to be able to support all these new AI-based capabilities isn't going to come cheap, at least in terms of the required effort to be able to deliver these capabilities. And this is something Apple had to do when they developed their new M architecture chips, which are based off of ARM architecture. They actually embedded multiple neural cores into every chip, designed to help acceleration of artificial intelligence operations and machine learning tasks. So in order to be able to support all these new autofocus capabilities, blur control, exposure control, using artificial intelligence, machine learning, I suspect that what we're going to see in the Canon EOS R5 Mark II and the Canon EOS R1 is a new image processor that's going to have neural cores to be able to help take this, what we see deep learning in cameras such as the Canon EOS R5, the 1DX Mark III, and accelerate them further. But now I want you to imagine all these improved capabilities in the Canon EOS R5 Mark II and the Canon EOS R1, that you bought your camera, you've paid, well, let's say $4,000 for the EOS R5 Mark II and north of $6,000 for the Canon EOS R1, only to find out that to be able to unlock these additional AI-based capabilities, Canon's going to charge you a monthly fee. Because according to Canon rumors, Canon is considering adding an AI subscription to future Canon cameras. And I simply hate these subscription models. They seem to be designed to take more money out of my pocket without necessarily giving me more updates, more enhancements to the software that I like. I used to use Adobe Photoshop, Premiere, and other creative packages that Adobe offered, but, well, their applications were pretty expensive, with Photoshop, even with the educational discount, costing in the hundreds of dollars. I always felt like I got value. The longer I used it, the more, well, value I seemed to get out of the product. But then when Adobe switched to their subscription model, wow, things got really expensive. I would end up spending now several $100s alone on a single application in just 1 year, and 10 years later, that would be several $1,000s. In 2015, when I bought Final Cut Pro, I did so after looking at DaVinci Resolve, which at the time wasn't a full nonlinear editing system. And of course, Adobe Premiere was very inefficient and seemed to crash a lot. Final Cut Pro, at the time, well, version 10 had just come out, and it cost $299. The same price today, $299. And since then, it's gone through version 10.1, 10.2, all the way up to 10.8 today. And you know what? I haven't paid a single cent extra. In fact, every time they come out with a new version, I keep thinking, okay, this version, they're going to say, okay, it's time to pay up again. And this is what we used to deal with in the past. We didn't have subscription models, but if you paid for a certain version, let's say version 10, you got to get free updates all the way up until it went to, let's say, version 11 or version 10.5. And I was happy with that model because once I paid my price, I saved up, I could afford it. I knew that for many years to come, it was mine. These new models are more akin to leasing a car. You get to use it for a month on a month basis, and that's it. I really don't like these models. I detest them. So how would you feel if you had to spend around $4,000 for the R5 Mark II, plus any other lenses such as the 100 to 500, the 50mm f1.4, only to find out that to unlock all the full capabilities of that camera, you had to pay Canon a monthly subscription fee, anywhere from $10 up to $50 a month. I don't know about you, but that would really grind me the wrong way. But now I want to turn your attention to a piece that Richard wrote on Canon Rumors, taking a slightly different spin at these new AI models, giving his thoughts on AI, delving into AI technologies like generative AI, the use of deep learning to generate images and video like we see here in Sora. And it's a good piece. I highly recommend you reading it. But now back to machine learning. While I welcome machine learning in upcoming cameras such as the Canon EOS R5 Mark II, the Canon EOS R1, if these cameras can think a little bit better, think a little bit more like you, think a little bit more like me, I'm all in favor of it. But to have to pay a subscription to unlock all the capabilities of a camera that I just spent more than $4,000 US on, that I'm not happy with. The Canon EOS R5 Mark II is expected to be announced this month on May the 15th, at least according to Canon Rumors. And if it is going to have any game-changing technologies, it won't be in the hardware but software-based AI capabilities. And that's why you'll see I've already got the Canon EOS R5 smart pre-order links in the description down below. These guys right here to Adorama and B&H. And while you can't obviously pre-order the Canon EOS R5 right now or the EOS R1 because, well, Canon hasn't announced them, but what I recommend doing is copying down these links, putting them in your browser, and then as soon as we have the announcement, these pre-order links will be effective. It'll happen sometime after the announcement starts, or it could happen right at the end of the announcement, and I'll be covering this announcement live once I know the date and time. I'll start a live stream around 90 minutes or 60 minutes before the actual event. So why have the smart pre-order links? Well, they're designed to do one thing, save you time so you can get into the queue a little bit quicker. What you'll see is something like this for the Canon EOS R5C. The smart pre-order links will list off every kit package offered by Canon at B&H or at Adorama, allowing you to get your order in before the masses. So go ahead and copy them down, put them in your browser, bookmark them, and then as soon as we have the announcement, you want to keep hitting refresh. What this should do is help save you anywhere from 5 to 15 seconds. And that could make a difference between getting it within the first few weeks of it shipping to waiting several months like people did with this Canon 200 to 800. And if you're on the fence and you're not sure if you want to get the camera or not, just go ahead and pre-order it, because it gives you time to actually think whether you want to get it or not. And then if you decide you don't want it, just cancel your pre-order before the ship date and you won't have to pay anything. But there is one thing, I do get a small commission of anywhere from 2 to 12% back from using these pre-order links or for my affiliate links. And speaking of affiliate links, don't forget to check out the huge sales on right now for the Canon EOS R6 Mark II, the R5 Mark I, the R5C, the R8, the R50, the Nikon Z8, Nikon Z7 Mark II, and the D850 to name a few. And while I'm eager to get the Canon EOS R5 Mark II, and maybe you are as well, one thing I do want to caution you on, and that's something called the fear of missing out, or FOMO. A lot of times we see the shiny new object, and well, I've got nothing shiny and new on my desk here other than my glasses, which will reflect light, so a little bit of shiny there. The Canon EOS R5, the Nikon Z8, when they were released anywhere from 2 to 4 years ago, they were considered to be the best of the best, offering incredible groundbreaking technologies. Well, those cameras are still just as groundbreaking and as effective today as they were 2 to 4 years ago. The main difference now is you're saving an awful lot of money, some $500 on the Nikon Z8 and about $1,000 or over $1,000 on the Canon EOS R5, depending on where you're purchasing it from. There's an amazing amount of deals on right now. It's just absolutely crazy. So while you're getting frustrated with the lack of leaked information on the Canon EOS R5 Mark II, I recommend taking a look and seeing what's on sale because there's some really incredible deals, deals like I've never seen before, inventory clearing deals. And one thing I can tell you about, I was talking to one of my sources earlier this week, and while I couldn't get any specifications, they did tell me that Canon has told retailers to clear out their inventory levels. So we know something is coming. We know an announcement is coming. The only thing we don't know at this point is the actual date and time of the announcement, the full agenda, what cameras are to be announced. Now, I've had sources tell me the Canon EOS R5 Mark II and the Canon EOS R1, and also the 35mm f1.4. But a lot of this is still up in the air, and I'm not taking anything as gospel at this point. There's so much we need to know. I was really surprised that by this point, within 2 weeks before a supposed announcement, we don't have anything really concrete other than the sensor. I would expect if the 15th is the date of the actual announcement, by Sunday at the very latest, we should have some sort of scheduled announcement by Canon, or at the very least some leaked specifications. But as of the time of recording, which is currently now 5 o'clock in the morning, Friday, I don't see anything. I've been checking the overseas press, I've been checking Japan, I've been checking China, I've been checking Australia, and nothing has leaked overnight. So now it's up to the North American and European markets, but usually on a Friday we don't get an awful lot. But still, it might be a Friday, and tomorrow's obviously the weekend, but don't let your guard down. Don't be surprised if I publish a video later today, Saturday, or even Sunday with some new leaked information. I know this is frustrating. I'm shocked myself. It's not like we're being pulled along that nothing's going to be released here in 2024. But there's an interesting trend I've seen. While a lot of cameras were planned for early Q1, such as the Nikon Z6 Mark III, which keeps getting delayed, and now Nikon Rumors has told us that it isn't coming in May, despite them saying January and then April, May. Canon, same thing. Panasonic, the same thing. I don't know what's going on. I assume that the logistics, the supply chains have been solved and all those problems have been solved, but judging by all these delays, I don't know what's going on here. And as we get up to the summer months, are we going to see summer announcements? Or as we saw traditionally prior to 2020, all those announcements will get moved into the fall. We'll just have to wait and see, but we do have the Paris Summer Olympics, so I do expect the Canon EOS R1 to be announced in some form or another at this big Canon event coming up this month. Will we see it in the last week? Well, we have in the United States Memorial Day, and here in Canada we have Victoria Day the week before. So we start to get into holidays, and what Canon likes to do is when they make announcements is look for a week to look for a quiet time where we don't have any major holidays around the world, at least not in their major markets. So if you want to stay up to date on the latest and greatest, then you might want to subscribe and choose all notifications. Although if you don't and you've watched this video and it's the only video you've watched, then probably YouTube's algorithm is going to start recommending more videos. You can also follow me on X, because on X I've been tweeting out other information that isn't quite big enough to have its own separate video. Like I did yesterday, telling you some information on specs for the Canon EOS R5 Mark II. But that's it for now. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't be surprised if there's more videos coming out later today or this weekend. But until then, have yourself a great day, and we'll see you again soon. Don't forget to get out there, grab your camera, get out there in spring, and even if it's raining, maybe look at some videos or some photography about shooting in the rain, because you can get some really incredible shots in the spring, especially with animals as they're getting around, as they're going on with starting families. Even shooting in the heavy rain, you can get really amazing shots. But that's it for now. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you again soon.